Okay, so we're going to start learning Tanya B'ezrat Hashem outside, not with the Sefer, because I found in my experience of Tanya that the actual words of the Sefer are really a big ikuv to the awe of the Sefer for us, for our generation. So I want to try and separate the awe from the kalim to just give that over. So we're not going to. I just want to discuss right now. This is like an introduction. Next week, B'ezrat Hashem, we'll start with Perek Aleph. So I wanted to ask everybody here, what is Chassidus? I'll be surprised if we don't get 5 different answers.
What is Chassidus?
What is Chassidus?
Way of life.
Way of life.
Direction.
Yeah, I think it's following a certain hashkafa from a certain rebbe and a group of rebbeim in a certain area, and they have a certain way of looking at the world.
But what is that? What's that certain way of looking at the world?
I think it's beyond like the written word. Like you go beyond.
Meaning the whole point of it is that you're trying to go deeper into whatever.
Right. It says give tzedakah, so you can give a dollar, or you could say I'm giving this dollar because I want to makabel the idea that Hashem said we should be givers, and at that point I think it goes into a different
So that's
level.
called lifnim mishur sadin.
I think so.
You guys, anything to say?
Focusing on the Vekas. Focus on the Vekas. Everything is based on the Vekas, getting closer to God.
What is the Vekas?
Cleaving to God, getting close to God. If I'm doing something
What's
that's
that
bringing me
mean?
closer, everything I'm involved in is for the purpose of elevating, maximizing my time in this world.
That's the Vekas?
That's nice.
Yeah, the maximization is being one with God as much as possible. To live with God.
So the Vekas is become one with God.
Shvisi Hashem. To walk in knowing that God's there, being with Him, and that's the purpose of life.
So what's the Vekas means? It's the Vekas machshava. I mean, you're just constantly aware of that idea, or it's some kind of feeling, or what?
The awareness brings you to the action. You live in a way based on the awareness that God's in front of you.
Okay, so it translates into action. There's a
Which creates shlemus, I think. That's the idea of this world.
and that's Chassidus.
And Chassidus is being aware of that constantly. Of everything you're doing is...
And so that's a chiddush.
Is it chiddush?
I'm saying that's a chiddush and Chassidus that would not exist by any other strand of Yiddishkeit. I mean, we make a big deal of the Baal Shem Tov, yeah? What did he do? What did he bring to the... What's the big deal? You know what I'm saying? What's that?
Yeah, make learning of Nesta.
What's the difference?
One,
I'm sorry to be confrontational like this. It's just we need to get these ideas straight.
New book.
That's the tough years.
the difference between Pnimis and Chassidus is
What's the difference between Panemius and Chetzonius? Not Torah, just anything.
right. Well, you have what's inside, where it's coming from, and then what's being expressed.
Osmius.
That would be it. Motivation and action,
Yeah.
kavana and
Yeah.
kli and awe.
Right.
So he was Megala the Panemius.
Yeah.
What's that?
That's the all.
What's that?
Sister Torah. It's the hidden. It's the secret. The secrets within Torah. So you could learn Torah, and you're not getting to the secrets behind the words of what.
So what does that? What you're just? It's like you're revolving now. What is the awe behind the Torah?
You can know God. You could try to get close to what God's intention was.
God's intention.
But you try to get closer to that space.
You want to emulate what your understanding of who he is, what his midos are.
And that's the awe behind. That's what you're saying. So you've got the outer level of the Torah and the inner level of the Torah.
Yeah.
So you're saying that the inner level is
Chassidus.
but what? So we're saying it's the light of God.
Can't say that because God, you can't say the light of God, because then you're separating, you're creating the pure.
Well, you can say the light of God, like the light of the sun. It's not two things. The sun emanates.
Fine.
The sun emanates light. So you say the light of God, like God isn't light,
Right.
but He kind of glows like the sun. You can say that.
An expression. Right.
Expression.
Yeah.
So you're saying that Chassidus is the inner. So that didn't exist before.
No, of course it existed.
So what did the Baal Shem
He brought
Tov
it
do?
out. He was Megala. He took something that was Nisra and made it Megala.
He revealed.
He revealed something that was hidden, that was, until that time,
Concealed.
kept secret and concealed. Yeah.
And joy.
In the Sisrei Torah.
And the season of love is joy also. It's connecting to Kosh Baruch through joy. Not through necessarily this Yira, and he brought a lot of ahava and joy into Yiddishkeit.
So what's that got to do with the panemius of the...
Because I think the atzmius of Yiddishkeit is joy. It's because if you love Kosh Baruch Hu, then you do things in a way that you want to serve him. I think that Chassidus is an outlook of doing it because it's wonderful, not because I'm scared necessarily. Because of.
But what about just Kabbalah's oil Malchus Shemayim?
Sure, that's true, but they could find a joy in that.
And what would
Even
that
Kabbalah
have to do then with Lifnim Mishur Adin? Because we do know one thing, that Chassidus is called Lifnim
Your father
Mishur
asks
Adin.
you to bring his slippers.
Yeah.
We said you order. Okay, here's your slippers. You bring them and you bring him a coffee. You polish his slippers and you put them on his feet. You go beyond what he asks because you're so excited about being close.
So that's a good question, because why, if it's, see that's the Pasha understanding of Lifnim Mishur Adin, they translate it as going beyond the letter of the law, which means you do more for God than He asks. That's the Pasha. If you read the Mesilas Yesharim, it's possible to read it like that. Yeah? Like you just said, not just bringing the slippers with a coffee, with a wafer.
This is why. Why are you doing that?
So why is the Hebrew Lifnim Mishuras Adin going inside? It's not going beyond the letter of the law, it's the opposite. It sounds like the opposite,
Because
no? The
according
actual
to
Hebrew.
Joel,
You're chayav.
Huh?
There's something you're chayav to do, and there's something you want to go into the outspace of what it is.
And that would involve
That would
doing
just
more.
do more, because that's.
Are you doing it to get schar, get something back from it, or just because you want to connect? You don't want anything
Isn't that a
back?
schar? You want to connect? Isn't that some kind of schar?
If I do it, I'm sure then I'll get a more schar than haba. If I do something like that.
No, so that's for sure not.
So it's Yerida Shitzarach Aliyah.
The what?
It's like the concept of Yerida Shitzarach Aliyah. The deeper you go, the more you're Megala. So in a way, Lifnim, the Shur Satin, actually fits very nicely. You have to go Lifnim, and the deeper you go inside, the more you can go outside.
What do you find when you go in?
His Ratzon, more
Yourself.
Yeah?
What are you going into? You're doing more of his Ratzon, what you think is his Ratzon. When you bring your father the more than he asks for his slippers, you're doing what you think he wants the most. He appreciates it, and that's what you want to do. You want to make him, your creator, happy.
Oh. So I've got the... You want to give your 2 cents on what you think Chassidus is?
That there is no such thing as a bad.
As...
Bad. There's no such thing as bad. To redefine how we think about bad, how we think about Gashmias, and how
Ra.
we think about bad. Ra.
The word Ra.
Yeah, that Hashem is not. That Hashem is really. There's no incidental thing in the world. That everything is completely exactly. how
There's a
Hashem
Vaday
is.
Ra, though.
There's Ra, but Ra is, there's no bad judgment. Meaning we have a disgust when we think about Ra. I feel like Chassidus is very much like, what's the disgust? There's no disgust. There are things that Hashem said not to do, the things that Hashem said to do, there's things to interact with the world, but to think that the world is something that's like, ugh.
Who said that's Ra? Who said the world's Ra?
No, I think that's what
That we should be repulsed. Hashem hates Ra.
Hashem hates Ra. But
He hates Klipa v'Sitra Achra. And the tzaddik, just like Hashem, can't stand Klipa v'Sitra Achra. He hates it. But Tachlis Asina, it says in Tanya.
Even though he created
And
it.
B'mius.
Even though he created it.
Yeah, even though he created it. He says he has charata every day that he created it. Like B'mius says. But so that's dangerous. Firstly, it's dangerous to say, and secondly, it's I think that you need to rework the definition of Ra.
Ra
Because
just means disconnected. I mean, you don't see that it's really part of Hashem. I mean, that's why it's Ra, because you don't see that it's really from His Ratzon, even though His Ratzon is that you separate from it, not that you engage in, but that to think that He's up there thinking that there's really as if Torah and mitzvahs are somehow like objectively good. They're not. Hashem could have decided to do anything other kinds of mitzvahs. He could have made tefillin, he could have made pink boxes or green circles or this and that. Like, I'm getting really hung up on the nitty gritty here, even though everything is the tachlis adiuk. At the end of the day, Hashem just stop getting so hung up on how you think this is good and bad. Just this is the Rebbeinu Shalom's world. Enjoy the Rebbeinu Shalom's world. Don't get hung up on this is bad, this is good, this is bad. Like, you do what Hashem wants, because
but He hates klipa v'sitra acha v'tachlis asina.
I think the
He's repulsed by it.
Into hating things.
What does it mean to hate something?
I don't think he came to mechadish hatred of
Hashem's
of things that Hashem. You didn't need that. You didn't need the chiddush of that. That was mafutz. That was already. We yotze on that.
Maybe our definition of Ra was a little bit off.
Chabad defines Ra as there is no intrinsic Ra, but it's only when you take something. Everything has its time and its place, and if it's in the wrong time or in the wrong place, that's Ra.
So you could define Ra as a klipa. What's the purpose of a klipa?
Protect the fruit until the right time.
It has no intrinsic value itself. It's a means to an end. The pri is the end, and the klipa is a means to an end. So you disregard the klipa like a shell of an egg. When you're ready to eat the fruit, the klipa is thrown away. Yeah? That's how we can define Ra. That's it. It's a means to an end, and Hashem hates that. And I'll just go a little further. Everything's one thing, but mixing up, confusing ends and means to ends is called Gehenna. When you start thinking that means to ends are ends, and you think that ends are means to ends, that's called being in Gehenna. That's called making Shabbos chol, and making chol a Shabbos, chas v'shalom. So,
but 1 second. That means that everything that we do, for example, a guy goes to work, that's not an end.
Means to an end.
That's Ra. According to what you're saying.
Maybe.
No.
That is a mitzvah called the Shabbos.
Well, maybe your definition of Ra is like from Austin Powers, that little guy.
Let's go back to what you said.
Maybe that's not what Ra. Maybe we need to get rid of that. Maybe we need to get rid of that idea of Ra being sadistic, malevolent, demonic. Maybe that's not what Ra is.
That Hashem hates Ra.
Yeah, He hates Ra.
Okay, so if He hates Ra, then it's.
So what does He love? What does Hashem love? What's an end unto itself?
Connection, I guess.
Oh, that's going very, very deep. We can say mitzvahs. Torah mitzvahs.
Which means to connect.
He loves mitzvahs. Why is there grass and sun and cows and Jews? So mitzvahs can take place. So now, if we said that there's no end in it, grass is not an end unto itself, so that's called Ra. Yeah? But when we feed a cow grass, and then we shech the cow, and now we make tefillin out of cow, we drafted that into Avodas Hashem. And now that becomes love. That becomes part and parcel of Kedusha. That's the definition of Kedusha and Klipa. Klipa is a means to an end, and Kedusha is an end unto itself.
Well, it's our interaction with it that's the mean to an end or an end to itself. Grass doesn't have anything to do with anything. It's just sitting there on the wall. But if I relate to the grass as a means to an end, it's Ra. I relate to the grass as an end to itself, then it's Gehenna.
But then you're going to say your wife is Ra.
What?
Your wife is Ra.
I don't know.
But you're relating. Isn't it the relating that's
One's
Ra?
wife is Ra. Because
Why?
your wife is a means to connect to Hashem.
Your wife is an end unto herself.
I mean,
it's a mitzvah. There's a mitzvah being married.
Yeah,
That's a means to that. And Hashem wants you to.
Married, but why why does the person get married?
Because it's a mitzvah.
The mitzvah.
To connect to Hashem.
It's a mitzvah. Forget connecting to Hashem.
Connect to the mitzvah.
Forget yourself for a minute.
Yeah.
This whole thing about connecting to Hashem, it's so about me. Let's try and turn our attention to Him for a second. Yeah? So He actually wants you to get married. That's an end unto itself. Let's explain Lifnim Mishras Din properly.
You're saying if you remove yourself from the picture, Hashem just wants this situation to happen, and that makes it the end. Meaning getting married is the end, because if you remove yourself,
being married,
there's no...
You want
there's
that
madrigas.
end. You want that end too. You don't want it as a means to another end. Hashem wants that
That's
end.
not what you want.
So
If you want something
Hashem
from your
wants that
wife,
end.
Hashem wants that.
Yes. So you want it for that.
No, not you. You don't exist.
But I do exist.
you don't say you don't exist. I didn't say you don't exist. I just said stop thinking about yourself.
I'll stop thinking about myself, but what I'm stopping to think about myself is what I'm going to get out of this. It's not what I'm going to get out of it. It's what am I doing it for? I'm doing it because Hashem wants.
So let's bring it back now.
That's
It's
an end to
important.
itself.
Lifnim Mishras Din. I'll give you my best example of Lifnim Mishras Din. When I go to the mikveh on a Friday afternoon, yeah, I put my telephone on silent. I go to the changing room like upstairs, and then you have to walk down. You go into the bore, you have a shower, probably takes maybe 15 minutes, I turn my telephone on silent. That is a beautiful example of doing something Lifnim Mishras Din. Why?
Wouldn't disturb anybody.
You don't have to.
You have no purpose for it, but you also not disrupting other people's thoughts as you're in the
You
mikvah.
want to be present. You want to be present.
I'm not going to be with my phone. I mean, my phone's upstairs. I'm not going to hear it. But maybe the guy next to me,
It's gonna be
well,
disturbed,
it's
but
going to be
it's
annoying.
off.
It's going to annoy him.
100%.
So is there an issa to leave my phone on?
Is it?
Is it assa to leave my phone on when I go down into the bore?
No, it's definitely no. It's not
No
us.
It's
issa.
not good midos.
It's not good news, but it's definitely not assa. Yeah. Now, if a man's married to a woman, and his goal is to be a good husband. Now, there's a lot of boxes you have to tick, yeah? To be a good husband, you have to pay the mortgage, you have to take the kids to school, let's say, you have to put your dirty socks in the washing basket, and you have to do the washing up. Or take out the trash, okay? That's just 4 examples of an endless list of things that you would have to do to be a good husband. So being a good husband, you need to make sure that all of those boxes are checked. All of those boxes are checked. Yeah? Now, let me give you an example. Let's say that you're working for some big entrepreneur, billionaire. You're some billionaire's assistant. Yeah? And he says to you, listen, I want you to go and get me a pair of shoes. So I don't care where you go, I don't care how much they cost, I just want slip-on shoes. This is my size, get me slip-on shoes. Okay, fair enough. Then the next thing he says to you is you're arranging for him a journey. He's going on a business trip, and he asks you to be Masada the journey, that it should be absolutely a round trip where you're not going to be going anywhere out of your way. You're going to be completely going all the way, one stop after the next, and it's going to be a continuous thing without having to go out of your way in any way. And the third thing he asks you to do is buy him a car. He says, listen, I don't really care what car it is, I just want 2 things, yeah? That it has really good mileage, good gas mileage, and it has a big fuel tank. So, Lefi, not Lefnim, but Lefi L'Shur Sadin, what did you learn about this man? He likes slip-on shoes.
Efficiency.
So that's not the din.
No, he likes to.
That's
he
Lifnim
likes quick.
Mishras Din. From this, for the Maisa, yeah, you learn that he likes slip-on shoes, that he has some kind of thing about doing a round trip, yeah, or some whatever it is, and that he wants a car as he described to you. But if you think a little bit and you use those points as an entry into him, trying to understand him, now you've just realized this man values time. Now, his valuing of time in the shoe shop expresses itself like this: slip-on shoes. His evaluation of time on a trip, on a business trip, expresses itself like this, in a no time wasting route. His being married, his value of time when it comes to buying a car ends up looking like this. And if you could come up with some other ideas about maybe, well, I didn't think about this, but what about getting like bigger tires? I'm just making something up because it helps the gas last longer. So you've got this car and this car. You would be able to extrapolate now that he would want the bigger tires because that's going to save him time from having to fill up the gas tank. With me?
Yeah, but then again, that gets dangerous if you start doing things like that.
Why?
Because no Navio went exactly into that.
That was exactly the point. They didn't, because Nifnimishus din means that you never ever deviate from the din. But the din is helping you get to him. Get to see the mitzvah is so you can get to the mitzvah. You understand? It's a complete paradigm shift. The mitzvahs are not about you. The mitzvahs are his mitzvahs. So now, when I start understanding, so why is it that I turn my phone off when I go to a mikveh? Why is that the Nifnimishus din? Because I know that Rabbeinu Shalom really values not disturbing people. There's pages and pages in the Gemara of not disturbing. Is it a halach? Is it a mitzvah? No, but it's a value of his. I don't kill things because I know he values life. So I see a cockroach. The truth is, in my office, I share my office with this big cockroach. I've shared it with him it might be a different one.
It's your partner or it's a cockroach?
It's what? it's mamash a cockroach. I share my office with him for at least a year or two, yeah? Why? Because I know that Hashem values life, and if I don't need to kill it, when I was in my parents' house,
your wife won't come in.
So but this is the point. This is the Shir Sadin. Now, in my parents' house, about 6 months ago, I was in their house. I was in their conservatory, and this thing, I don't know what it was. It was like a wasp times like 10. It was like a huge thing. Yeah, it was scary, really scary. It comes into the conservatory. I open all the windows. I'm talking to her. I'm like, please, just go. If you don't go, I'm going to kill you. Please don't make me kill you. Just go. Just go. Yeah. And I've got this tray and it comes near me. I'm like that. And it just wouldn't get the message. So I know that Hashem has a higher value, that he doesn't want a human being to have to have to get a nezik. So I'll kill. So I killed the wasp, but I felt bad and I wasn't immediately stamped on it, put it out of its misery. That's being connected to the mitzvah as opposed to the mitzvah. With me? So now plug it back into marriage, yeah? And now, see, when you're not living in this world, you've got 613 things to check off. That's a nightmare. And it's not 613, let's be real. It's infinitely more than that, yeah? You've got... go on forever and ever. You've got tzedakah, you've got Talmud Torah, you've got kavanah and tefillah, you've got tzitzis and tefillin, and you've got tikkun midas, and you've got tikkun bris, you've got shmiras hanayim, and you've got shmiras haloshen, and you'll go on and on and on and on and on, and it's like so overwhelming. I've got so many things that I have to be dealing with, so many battles I'm like waging war, so many fronts. I'm like the difference between fighting Gaza and fighting Gaza and Lebanon. It's a different. You've got so many battles on so many fronts, but that's because you're wanting to be a good Jew, and if you want to be a good Jew, you have to make sure you're ticking all these boxes. But if you move your mindset to the Rabbeinu Shalom, that's called Sadik be'emunas yichya. That's what Habakkuk was omed the entire Torah al achas. So now you've got to pay the mortgage, you've got to put your socks, the dirty socks in the washing, you've got to clean the floor and you've got to take out the garbage, yeah? Plus. But if you become actually connected to your wife, there's only one thing, your wife. Mm-hmm. In this situation, your wife is expressed by you taking out the garbage. In this situation, your wife is expressed by you paying the mortgage. In this situation, your wife is expressed by you throwing your dirty socks in the washing bin. That's Sadim Munaso Yichya. That all of the that's called getting to the etzem through the shame. And what we were speaking about before, that would be your son going through the compressed idea back into the idea as it is in your mind, or into the one who gave over the idea. It's all the same. Everything we'll say can lead in every direction. It's all the same. So, we have a Gemara Shabbos.
Yeah.
So let's follow it back here. A lot of people think that the Baal Shem Tov came to be Mefarish to Arizal. Yeah? What did the Arizal explain to us? Ukis Veri is a explanation of the Zohar. Where did the Zohar come from? Rishon Bar Yochai. I said this to you last time? No. So, who is Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai? If we can answer this, we'll start to answer what Chassidus is, and then maybe we'll understand what Avram is, why the first word of Tanya begins with the word Tanya. There you go. And just see Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon. Yeah, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon, they were sitting there. This is the famous story, probably the most famous story in the Gemara, at least up there with the top 5. Yazif Yehuda ben Gerim, and there was a guy with them called Yehuda ben Gerim, Gabayu. Pasach Rabbi Yehuda began, V'Oma, Kamen Noe Ma'aseihem Shel Umazu. Look how wonderful, how nice the actions of this nation, being Edom, are. Yeah? Tiknu Shvakim, Tiknu Gesharim, Tiknu Machatzos. They made marketplaces, bridges, and washing places. So Rabbi Yehuda said that was a great thing. Rabbi Yossi Shosok, Rabbi Yossi didn't say anything. Nana Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, V'Oma, Kol ma shetiknu loy tiknu ela letzorech atzman. Everything they did for themselves. Tiknu shvakois, loy shibehem zoinus. They made machazois, le'edan behen atzman. They made bathhouses to give themselves pleasure. Gesharim litol behem meches. And yeah.
He didn't want to see the Nakuda Tova in there.
What?
He didn't want to see the Nakuda Tova.
Yeah, Rabbi Shimon, imagine that. What was he doing there? He didn't want to see the Nakuda Tova. Halach Yehuda ben Gerim, so this guy, Yehuda ben Gerim, he went, yeah, V'sipah Divreihem and Nishmul Malchus, he told these things over to the Malchus, to Edom. Amru, they said, Yehuda She'ila Yisale. Yehuda who gave a Shevach, he gets praise, some kind of whatever. Yossi Shosag Yigala Tzipuri. Yossi, who said nothing, he gets Galus. Shimon Shigina, Shimon, who was Megane As, Yahweh. Azahu Brei, Tashu Bay Midrasha. Him and his son went, they hid in the base Midrash. You know the story, yeah? And then he was worried that his wife was going to give in, and his wife was bringing them bread and stuff, and then he went to the cave. And that's the story. That's the famous story of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and that was what caused the Zohar to come into being. So now we see from here, what's the pneumius of the Zohar? 2 words. This whole story is predicated on 2 words. Rabbi Shimon's Hakpada on 2 words.
Is Hakpada on it?
His Hakpada, the Tzorich Atzman, on those 2 words, they were doing it for themselves, caused him to get the Gezerah of Misa, went to the base Medrash, went to the cave. The whole thing, the entire thing, was mishtashel from those 2 words, the Tzorich Atzman. You understand? The Zohar, the pneumius of the Zohar is predicated on these 2 words, the Tzorich Atzman, a hatred and intolerance of they did it for themselves. So, really, if we say that the Baal Shem Tov came to explain the Arizal came to explain Rabbi Shimon, and Rabbi Shimon's whole inyan was a hakpadog, was an intolerance to the point where he would be makabel. He didn't need to say that. Why couldn't he just be quiet like Rabbi Yossi? Or he could have given them. There's a day in the Rabbi Yehuda. You know, he had who to be somech on. Rabbi Yehuda said, "Man, no, he could have been somech. He could have just done nothing." He went out of his way and caused himself this whole balagan because of just an absolute intolerance for selfishness. An utter intolerance for selfishness. So that's the panemius of the Zoya. The Zoya is the panemius of the Arizal, and apparently the Arizal is the panemius of the Baal Shem Tov. I'm not sure if that's true, but that's let's say the panemius of the whole Hishtalshlus is the Inyan L'Tzoich Atzman. Where did the whole Torah come from? Who gave us the entire Torah? Moshe Rabbeinu, Ish Arnav Mo'oid. He was an Arnav. Yeah? Why did it have to be that the media that we talk about of Moshe, that's utter selflessness, and the whole story with the sheep that he brought back. We don't talk about his hours and hours of Hasmada, and the 6 hour his Boidah sessions that he did, and the tefillahs, and we talk about the fact that he ran after a little sheep and put it back on his shoulder. It's amazing. It's important to think about stuff like that. So it's interesting because in the Gemara gives the definition of a chassid. It says Riflim Mishur Sadin is one definition. Another thing the Gemara says famously is Ezi Chassid, that's one thing as well that Tanya brings out. I need to re-park my car. I'm sorry. So like that.
Hang on.
Yeah, it works on a phone like this. That's a big chesed from Hashem. And I bought a Waze machine, and I bought that thing as well. And that means I can...
You're connected.
I was saying to my friend yesterday, I think, Mitzrayim, they talk about Avodah Kasha and all the things going on in Mitzrayim. I think it's very... Most people didn't want to leave. You heard that, yeah? 1 minute, sorry.
Give up the parking spot.
Apartment 4G doesn't have parking.
Yerushalayim.
Can't do that.
Yes.
Reserved for rabbis.
Valet parking.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm with you again. Slicha. So the Gemara says a Rasha Zorkan, a Tzaddik Kovran, and a Chassid Sofan. Yeah, it's talking about nails. About nails. Rasha throws them on the floor, a Tzaddik buries them, and a Chassid burns them. Yeah, it's a famous thing. So in the Gemara there, Tosha says, I don't know exactly what this means, but he says the inyan of burning the nails is mazik, the one who burns them. Now, I don't know, my Rebbe mentioned that it's like an inyan of like cremation, you cremated a part of yourself, or maybe it's the fumes, I don't know. Either way, burning the nails causes you damage. So the Rasha, what's the inyan of the nails, getting rid of the nails anyway, is because women, when they're pregnant, it's not going to be good for them, yeah? So the Rasha doesn't care. So he throws them on the floor. Who's Zarkan? He throws them. He doesn't care if a woman treads on them. Yeah? The Tzaddik, yeah, he cares, but not enough to cause himself a nezik. So he buries them. The Chassid is another definition. Chassid, same definition. The Chassid is so worried for this woman that he doesn't know, he is prepared to be mazik himself. This other person is more the person he's never even met.
Is that a mila though? To mazik yourself?
That's the level of a chassid.
Because Baruch Hu wants you to be mazak yourself.
So let's try and understand the idea. Whether you want to plug it into halacha, you can learn that.
He's
the
obsessed
sugars
with not
of
hurting
Israel. But the idea of another person being more real to you than you are to yourself, that's the chassid. Legabe Kodesh Baruch Hu. It's not about my kesher to you, because who's more important?
It's also like the Baal Tanya missing Kol Nidre.
Yeah, look, the end of stories of this.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
But it's about you, Rabbeinu Shloim. Kesher, no kesher, it hurts, it feels good, love it, hate it. That's not what it's about. Isn't that the keys to like the perfect marriage? Not that you're doing it for that reason, but once you can get out of your own pleasure, if you can ascend your own pleasure, meaning that doesn't mean you don't have pleasure. If someone pops an M&M or something into your mouth, it doesn't mean you're not going to enjoy it. It just means you would not put yourself out for that. So a Russia, I always give a great example. In my mind, my paradigm Russia is Yemach Shemoy V'Zichro is this guy called Ted Bundy from the 80s. You heard of this guy?
No, the tapes that they found of Ted Bundy tapes. It's coming up
The
with
serial
my
killer.
feed, I don't know.
A serial killer, yeah?
Serial killer.
You've heard of this guy? From the
No,
Killed
80s.
off my
apparently
children.
there's a
Yeah.
documentary.
He killed like they found out, they convicted him for like I think 80 or 100 murders, but he killed much more.
Wow.
He killed hundreds of people with torture and rape and all. It was, he in my mind is the worst. He's my dugma of Ra. Yeah. When I need to think about Ra, when I try and get things clear about what it means Ra, I think about him. What's the Inyan? Why is that so Ra?
Hashem didn't want it to happen.
Why is he Ra? Everyone agrees that that's like the epitome of Ra.
Selfish.
Yeah, he's killing for no reason. He killed for his own
killing
selfish reasons, but it's not
He's killing for his pleasure.
for his pleasure. Right?
Meaning,
He's
this is the
putting
definition of Ra Mamash, is that my pleasure, which you could call really yourself, my pleasure is so real to me, and you're so unreal to me, that I will put you through tsar for my pleasure. That's the very definition, that's the ultimate level of Ra. That's Ani va'afsi oid. That's power. That's I'm real, and not only am I real, but my pleasure is so. That's what it means that I'm real. My
Is that
pleasure.
why air was called
Wait, one minute. Let me.
air and oiner?
The what?
For air and oiner, air and
Say there.
ra for their own pleasure.
So, what's the definition of a tzaddik? What's the definition of the ultimate level of toiv? So listen, this is a good example of a tzaddik. Yeah. Let's say this is a nice comfortable chair, and the tzaddik's sitting in this chair, and that chair is not going to have any benefit to Hashem's, to his avodas Hashem. It wouldn't cross his mind to put himself out to sit in that chair. So the Russia would put you out for his personal pleasure. The tzaddik wouldn't put himself out for his own personal pleasure. Not that he wouldn't appreciate sitting in that chair. He could appreciate that that's pleasurable, but that's not part of his cheshbon bichlal. With me?
Unless he understood that he felt that Hashem gave him that chair in order to have that pleasure, and that was something that.
Hashem get what that's.
Okay,
No, that's not right. That's an Esha Torah thing.
Well,
That's not what it's about. That's Esha Torah, and that's not right. I'm sorry. I'll
Why?
be very stark with that.
Why?
It's not about having pleasure.
what do you mean? But Hashem created a
It's about serving the Rabbeinu Shalom.
with pleasure.
That might happen to be the ultimate pleasure. That might happen to be the ultimate pleasure. But it's not about you taking physical pleasure for the sake of the physical pleasure. Chaz v'shalom.
But you like your kid to have something.
We talking about Shabbos? Is it Shabbos?
Let's say.
Wait, is it? Are we talking about Shabbos?
No, we're talking
So
about
then taking the and are you going to go out your head if you don't do it? Is it going to impact your service? Is it going to negatively impact your avodas Hashem if you don't give in to that pleasure? Because sometimes you're going out your head. You just need to eat
Do you
some
ever
chocolate,
eat
something like
dessert?
that.
Do you ever eat dessert?
But every dessert.
It's only if it
I
will
mean,
negatively
I mean,
impact, but not if it
you
will
should never
positively
eat
impact.
Sometimes, no, not there, because sometimes you tuck and need to. Because if you don't eat dessert, you're going to be grumpy, and your wife's going to mamash
That's
get
your
it.
problem. If you're a
No, that's
tzaddik,
not
you
your.
wouldn't-
That's your
No,
wife's
no, no,
problem.
no. A tzaddik wouldn't get grumpy because he kind.
Okay, so we're not tzaddikim, that's the point. I was just explaining the highest level. The tzaddik wouldn't eat dessert in the week, no. Of course not. Unless it was something you'd never tried before, maybe, something like that. But taking pleasure for yourself, that's not, that you...
Hashem wants you to have pleasure. I don't understand it. You want your kids to enjoy things, yeah?
But you're right, in a sense. Not in the way that we learn it traditionally.
As long
The
as your
pleasure
kid
is, we
knows
say,
that the pleasure's
Aneg
coming
al
from
Hashem.
you, as long as the kid, the what gives you the pleasure, not just that your kid has a geschmack, but that he understands that it's coming exactly from you. The tati got him the ice cream. The tati got him the ice cream. And that he enjoys it. Oh,
So just keep giving him ice cream, more and more
but
and
the-
more
but
ice
if
cream. Stuff it in him.
But if
Why
the
not?
kid eats because then the kid's going to get sick, and there's a limit how much.
So it's not good for
it's
him.
coming from, of course. But if the kid says, okay, you know what, I don't really care about the ice cream, but my tati loves that I appreciate that it's coming from him, and that he's.
So
that
save
I know
that, save
every
that,
geschmack
save
comes
that
from
for
him.
Shabbos.
Mm-hmm.
Save that for Shabbos.
I think his point is that it's the connection that the father has with the son. It's not about.
But the problem is when you indulge your own pleasure for yourself, there's no connection to anything other than
When you
yourself.
buy for your kid, it's not about you. It's about you creating connection with your child.
I mean, I think personally, Baruch Hashem, my kids are
It's
older,
mitzvah, mitzvah.
and I see what it means to spoil children. I know a lot of people who spoil their children, and that doesn't work out so well. That doesn't work out so well.
That's an extreme example of somebody that's giving doesn't know how to also hold back. But I think just in the most basic sense is that you want pleasure.
Let's go a different way. Let me go a different way.
Connection.
Imagine how amazing your life would be. Let's go in a different direction. If you didn't care about your own personal pleasure.
For sure.
You'd be a robot.
Let's say you have a particular candy that you love. You love this candy, okay? And you haven't had it for years, and you always whatever. Now you're at a simcha, and there's a candy bowl, and it's like takadoska. It's the exact flavor, it's the exact company, it's the exact thing.
Okay.
You'd say, "Oh, Hashem put this on the table so that I would reject it and say I don't have any needs." Or it's like, "Wow, Rabbi Shalom, you gave me the candy I love. I'm gonna take a bite. I'm gonna have one candy. I'm gonna say, oh, Geschmack, Hashem, you gave this right to me. Thank you." Now,
What did that do to you?
Realize that it makes me feel like Hashem loves me so much.
Or it got you more connected to your own personal pleasure?
It just made
In the
me,
long run. I'm
it
just
just
asking.
made me,
Now, you
it
took
just
that one
made me
candy.
realize that
Wait, let's try
Hashem
to
knows my
understand.
personal pleasure. And that I didn't make up my personal pleasure. I didn't make up that I like that candy. I didn't figure that out. I didn't create that. Hashem gave me that love of that candy. And then he put that candy right in front of me.
Maybe.
Maybe?
I mean, it depends. That okay.
He didn't put the candy in front of me?
No, you said he gave you that pleasure for the candy.
Well, he
He
did.
gave you the pleasure. He gave you that pleasure. It's becoming
I
clothed.
like that candy,
It's becoming
but not
clothed
the other
in that.
candy.
The reason why you like that candy
is
is because of stuff that happened during the past, because of things your parents did for you, things of where you came from, like the same.
And what? That's all? That's Mikra? That's also Hashem.
No, Avalai.
Okay, so Hashem. But the point is I didn't come up with that taiva.
So now, what about? So now let's plug this into. Let's plug this in. Let's take it really extreme. Sorry.
What's the question? What's the question here?
See,
why we created is the question.
Let's plug it into the relationship with your wife. Yeah. See, the person really is the pleasure.
What are we trying to discover? Though I'm saying
That what does it mean to be Mis'aneg al Hashem? That's a really important word to get clear, because the whole of Mesilas Yesharim and lots of other Swarm are predicated on that, and I've never actually met somebody who gave me a decent definition for that word.
Oh, he says Mis'ana, not Mis'aneg.
So Mis'aneg al Hashem.
Well, to be Nen and Ziva Shechina.
What does that word mean?
Yeah, to be Mis'aneg from Lashon Oineg, to be reflexive, Mis'aneg.
To give him nachas ruach.
No, is that you're high on the Rebbeinu Shalom.
Why is that called Mis'aneg al
What
Hashem?
about you?
Because you have this pleasure.
You're
able
Mis'aneg
to
al
do
You're
something.
Mis'aneg.
You're having his pleasure.
You're him.
Your
Ultimately.
pleasure got replaced by his pleasure.
It's the same thing.
His pleasure
That
is
my
your
pleasure is that he has
What
pleasure.
makes it?
That's the same thing as eating that candy.
Uh,
Not on Shabbos.
With the right mindset. I
Yeah.
mean,
Do you want to say
there's
the
no
bracha?
mitzvah for the candy necessarily. There's no mitzvah to eat the candy, so
It's
but-
going to have some kind of toilet in your Avodas Hashem. It could. It could be.
Well, if I
Like it says by Rava, it says that he used to eat. He used to eat fatty meat.
It's a little kiss. It's a little wink. It keeps me
He
alive
wait,
every minute. That's
he
great.
used to eat. Rava used to eat. You learn the Tanya, yeah? Rava used to eat. It says from the Gemara, he used to eat like fatty wine and drink fatty meat and drink spiced wine to open his mind up to learn the Gemara. So if that candy there is going to help you in your avodas Hashem, then that's much that you just drafted in Klippas Noga.
Isn't that for a result?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, isn't that right?
Your oineg is not an end unto itself. That's called Gehenna. And you're a hop, skip, and a jump away, Rahman al-Islam, from Ted Bundy.
Whoa.
I'm not
Don't eat
joking.
that candy.
When your
candy.
oineg becomes an
don't
end
eat that
unto
It's a gateway.
itself,
First it's candy and then it's cereal killer.
that's if you listen to him talk. He said that he gave. I listened to him speak. He said that it began with Zerul of Atola and magazines. And one day he was drunk and he knocked over an animal in the road and he was interested by it, yeah. And then one day he got drunk and one thing leads to the next, and before you know it, you're Ted Bundy, Rahman al-Islam. Yeah, I'm not joking. I know I'm speaking very strongly, yeah. If you think that your oineg is an end unto itself, you're in Gehenna. That is Gehenna.
This Aneg al Hashem is
I'll give you a good story that happened this week that explains to you what Misagen Hashem is. So I take Shabbos very seriously, Baruch Hashem. I've done for many years now, and I had I think it was Tuesday or Monday, and I was up early. I had my learning seder, and I was up too early to go to the mikveh, so I left the mikveh to go later. So I take these guys to shul I go to, yeah, and I'd planned the whole thing, and I was in my house, I just went to the bathroom, I was going down, getting into my car, literally in the chaniya, my car, my phone rings, it's my 16-year-old daughter. Abba, I really don't feel well. And she's having pains from that time of the month, yeah, and it was like this. This is how it went. I'm on the phone with her. I'm getting into my car. I'm excited. Shach was here. And I'm like, Tina, you okay? She's like, no. And I was like that. I just walked straight back to my house. And later I thought about this. Now there were three options that could have happened at that point. Yeah. Trying to pay attention because this really is extremely deep and extremely important. Yeah. Three options. Number one, I'm like, oh, Dina, you're not well? Oh, that's terrible. I wish you were for a shleim. You should be okay. Colton, get in the car and go to shul. Yeah? Let's say that Dina is the Avodah Sholem in the moshel. Yeah? Okay. And shul is something that I want to do. I said this the other day and it got confused because that sounds like the mitzvah. But the moshel is that shul is something that I want to do and Dina is the Avodah Sholem. Okay? Ratzon Hashem. And I know she wanted me to be there with me. So the three options are like this. I get in the car, I say the first name, I drive off, and I'm involved in my own thing. Yeah? Or what happened is I just immediately turn back and go back to the house and I sit with her for a few minutes. Yeah? What's the middle option? It's interesting, like what's the other option?
You stay on the phone with her.
Well,
You stay on the phone with her.
I might as well just go up. That's the same thing. I'm giving you my time. If I'm going to be late for right now, I've got two conflicting whatsoevers. My daughter wants me to be with her, and I want to go to shul. And they don't work. I could be on the phone. I could maybe speak on the. That's not really.
You go back, but like, okay, fine.
That's it. But I could say to her, now really, I want to get in the car, and then what happens? What pops into my mind is. If your friend told you this, you'd mamish think he's like a bad father. Get back, yeah? Or, she will, this will be, a thought pops up and convinces me to go back. whatever that thought may be, you can fill in the blank yourself. You with me? That's a completely different mahus from the other two people. Well, it's actually not. It's actually very similar to the guy who gets in the car and drives off. You're about to get in the car.
Well, they're both selfish.
You're about to get in the car. Yeah, but you're doing the right thing. You're doing the good. You're doing the good thing. That's very important, especially to my daughter.
So it's even better to go. If you go back with we call it tuch's face.
It's better to go.
It's better to go to show. If you're going to go back...
Wait, no. I'm not saying no. I'm not saying go back, but no. Okay, I get you. No, you understand me wrong. You're not going back begrudgingly.
Right, you're going back lovingly.
You're going back lovingly.
You're convinced by something else.
Something external came to you.
The relationship is the ikar.
It could be your thought. Like, she'll be upset with me if I don't go back, and I'm going to deal with that later on.
It would be going to damage a relationship. So which relationship is more important?
Yeah, that's an external thought comes to me. You with me?
Right.
As opposed to what happened to me, and this was very special for me to realise this, is that I didn't go through that process. I just about turned.
You trained yourself at that moment. You're trained. You're in that space.
So
my daughter is more important than my particular need. I have to go back.
She's more real to me than I am.
Right.
What about those guys?
Her pleasure
or her pain is more important.
Pleasure and pain is the same thing.
Right.
Her pleasure or her need to be
help right.
replaced my own personal pleasure.
Right.
That's Misaneg al Hashem. Not eating the candy. Misaneg al Hashem means that your own personal pleasure has been replaced by his pleasure. Now that could be at two levels. Yeah, and that's the difference between Tzadik Gamo and Tzadik She'einu Gamo and Tanya. That could be the level where you actually enjoy the candy, but it has no relevance to my relationship with God, so I don't care. Yeah. Or the ultimate level, which is not shaykh to most human beings, which is a gift from Hashem that most of us will never achieve and not that we're meant to achieve, is where the candy will actually not be of pleasure bichlal.
But your awareness made you going back more pleasurable than going to shul.
So you could say it like that if you're a human being, but looking at it from the eyes of Torah, the way you would say it is that her pleasure overwhelmed my pleasure. And her pleasure is so real to me.
You think ultimately that was more pleasurable for you to do though?
Yeah.
It was more, but that's the point, whose pleasure? Meaning that my own personal pleasure was to go to davening. She needed me. Yeah? So you could say that's my pleasure. But the way the way that we're explaining that, the holy way of explaining that is that your pleasure got replaced by her. That's the idea of the guy who's now not caught up in the garbage and the kasub he's not caught up in the garbage and the mortgage and the dirty socks. All of that dissolves and there's just a wife. There's just my wife. She's more real to me than I am to myself.
Misaneg in that.
Well, that's misaneg, but it's not your oineg. Your oineg has been replaced by her oineg, so there's oineg there, but it's her oineg. So you could look at. So you could look at. If you were to look at that situation, what motivates me to drink this? Yeah, I'm enjoying this. My pleasure caused me to bring the cup to my mouth and drink it. Yeah, everyone agrees with that. So now, when you're watching me get this phone call. And me do an about turn and go back home, where am I?
You're submerged. You're
secondary. There's just Dina.
Right, there's no you.
There's no me, there's just Dina.
Yeah, some people...
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And don't get me wrong, this isn't talking about being a doorstep and a shmata and a doormat.
They don't exist. They just like...
That's not true. That's not true. They exist very, very much. And their existence is being solidified through becoming a shmata. Yeah, going beyond your pleasure is the most. Not only is it the most empowering thing in the world when you're doing something. I mean, just pshat. How much you put yourself out for a meal on a regular Wednesday evening? You're by yourself. Your wife's not there. What do?
Right. Low level.
Yeah, but your parents are coming in from out of town, or your brother, sister's coming in from out of town. Yeah, you go out. It's just pasha. Somebody else's pleasure is more motivating than my own pleasure. If you're a half worked out person, so not only is it insanely empowering.
To impress them.
Okay, yeah, but not only is it insanely empowering, but it's also insanely individualizing. Because now your question is, well, what makes me different from, what's so unique about me that Hashem wants specifically. So it actually causes you to have to understand what makes you unique, because that's what the Ribono Shel Olam wants from you. So not only does it empower you past anything you could ever imagine, and I promise you that it does, not only that, is you become the most individual you could become. But it's all just an external thing, because really what's happening is the Dvar Hashem, the Ruach Elokim is just breathing through you. That's Mizareg Hashem. So we've got some, if anybody needs to get up and leave, please do. Yeah? No offense for taking, but this is, you don't want to leave for this. This is possibly the most important thing I've ever heard, and it's mamash in the Parsha, which will be the next Parsha. And this is the reason, this is what Tanya is trying to take us. This is where Tanya is trying to take us. This is where Tanya is trying to take us, to this Madrega. So, the question by Chassidus Yitzhak, which is really where Am Yisrael began, What's the inyan of a Chassidus Yitzhak? Well, everyone here knows that. What would you say is the inyan of a Chassidus Yitzhak? Giving his son up, who is dearest thing to him.
About his own das, despite the fact he was promised there's going to be a lineage,
to spend
that moment.
Against Moilech was the number one thing he was fighting against. Doesn't make a difference.
So listen to the way Rabbi Yoel Khan paints this picture. I looked up the Midrash, I couldn't find the Midrash, but he brought. I'm going to say what he said. He brought. We understood it. He explained that. We know that at the time, the big avera of the time was Moilech, and was people being makriv their children to Hashem, to their God, to Moilech. Child sacrifice. It was rampant. Everyone was killing their kids. So I always thought it was like, a bunch of psychopaths with machetes and axes and underpants on their head and fire and blood and what?
A bunch of Ted Bundys.
Like the little mini-me, that's how I always understood it. And I learned this from my Rebbe and from Yoel that's like makes it a little different. Listen to this. He said that all the people in the world got together. There weren't that many people in the world. They all got together and they decided they wanted to be makriv to their God. They wanted to do the hardest thing they could do for their God. The hardest thing they could do. So some guy stands up and he says, we'll kill ourselves. Mass suicide for our God, for Moilech. And that's going to be the ultimate, that will be October 7th. We'll get there. This is the whole inyan. And this is why we're not here to be religious. This is the opposite of religion. Mamish. In fact, according to everything I know, the only thing that I know of that isn't religion is Yiddishkeit. The only thing I know of. And we've turned it into a religion, which is the ultimate tragedy. The ultimate tragedy. So you've got all these guys saying, okay, we're going to kill ourselves, we're going to do the hardest thing we can possibly do. One guy pipes up, he says, I've got something harder. And I'm like, what? What's harder? Makriv, our firstborn, Spitz children. Everyone's like, no way, that's. And they spoke it out, and they went through, and they eventually agreed that is the hardest thing they could do, and they agreed to do it. So now, in the churches, there was solemn music. Everyone was crying their eyes out. The mothers were crying, the fathers were consoling the mothers, the glachim were consoling the fathers. Everyone was talking to the children, saying, I know this is the hardest. Imagine the situation, mamish, everyone crying their eyes out, no one wanted to do it, everyone was forcing us to do it, And you got this guy outside with a picket stick,
Wow.
A guy with a picket stick outside, saying, no, they were like, go back to Tel Aviv. You friar, look at you. You chiloni, look what we're doing. You're out here with your stick and your... Lech mipo. Lech lecha. Go away. The whole thing. Amazing, no? What? Stay with me. So Avram was the friar.
He says, no, you kill him.
Avram was the friar. He had been running this organisation for like 30, 40 years, call it we don't kill our kids for
Now
God.
he's going to go and do the thing.
Now the Galach comes up to him and says, Avraham, you kill Yitzhak or we'll kill you. Any fraction of a human being, his whole thing has been, for the past 30, 40 years, we don't kill our children. This Galach puts a gun to his head and says, kill Yitzhak. You're going to torture me? Gesundheit. If William Wallace can do it, I can do it. Yeah? He was the guy in Braveheart.
Sorry.
Hashem turns around to him and says, kill your son. He's like, okay, where would you like me to do that? What's the Indian? Is that, this is the word, yeah? Shita. Shita. Shintes, which is Lashon Sotan, by the way. And Shtus, Ruach Shtus. Same word, same shurish. He was able to go beyond his Shita. What made it possible for a few thousand Rishoyim to come into Eretz Yisrael a year ago, all of them ready to give up their lives? That is mind-blowing, yeah? But we know that that's not a milah. You're a temple. Not only you're a Russia and you're a temple. You're going to give up your mind you're going to give up your life. You with me? It's a crazy kite.
You're talking about the original founders of the Medina? Is that what you're talking
No. I'm talking about October 7th. The terrorists are shot on October 7th. October 7th. Sorry, I'm being vague. I don't want to.
I got Yared Bennett in my head right now.
So the idea of a shita, yeah, the idea of a shita, and we see people give up their lives for their shita. There's nothing. That's quite amazing if it's a good shita, yeah. But that's distinctly human. Giving up your life for your ideology, we've seen that happen countless times. And the fact that what happened on October 7th, there was a whole bunch of them, and they do that all the time. You see they care more about dying than they care about living. What's amazing about that, yeah? So, the Shevach of Avraham was that he was he gave up his Shita for the Ribbono Shel Olam. He gave up his ideology. So you'll give up your life for your ideology. But what will you give up your ideology for?
Well,
what is there to give up your ideology?
Wasn't he just Megala that his ideology was that Hashem knows best? I think that you wanted to test him that you're doing everything just because it makes sense to you. Would you even do this even if it doesn't make sense to you? To show you that, yeah, I was never doing it because it made sense to me. I was doing it because I know you're the
That's not an ideology.
What?
You can't give up your ideology. That's not called giving up your ideology. So if you were saying this, that he gave it up for a higher shita, then that's not the case. Because the point is he went beyond shita. I'm giving you over Masori. Yeah?
Why was it
he
shita?
went beyond shita. His shita... What?
Why was it his shita? Wasn't it Tzivah Hashem not to kill your son?
Yeah.
So what's not his shita then?
So that was... He had taken...
Because Kodesh does do it now, he does it now.
Now when Hashem says do something other, now I'm able to do something other.
Right.
That's the idea of going beyond taking the mitzvahs as a shita. That's going beyond the religion of the idea. Try and understand, yeah? Because there are questions you can ask on this, but if you try and understand, you'll understand. And it's the idea, okay? Because there's lots more points that there's not time to go into into everything. But the point was that his shita, yeah, was that you don't kill your children. Yeah? And if you want to say it was Tzivah Hashem, there was no Tzivah Hashem at that point. It was, maybe you could say there was the Indian of the Shem Noach. But the way that Rabbi Yoel explains this, and you'll see in a minute, because this answers up what we say every day in Kriya Shema, B'chol levavacha, b'chol nafshecha, b'chol mo'idecha. B'chol levavacha, yeah, with all your heart, with all your emotions, yeah? B'chol nafshecha, even if you have to give up your life. And Rashi says it's going in order. B'chol mo'idecha is the hardest thing. Giving up your money. And it's mo'idecha. Why not say mamoinecha? Or damacha? Why mo'idecha? You're very. Yeah? This was the Inyan. This is the Inyan of the Jew. This is the point of the Jew. is service at a level. It's not you serving the Rebbeinu Shalom, it's the Rebbeinu Shalom serving himself in a sense. That's the ultimate level of the Jew, going beyond his own shita.
So you don't give to his hand, you become his hand.
That's you can say it like that. That's mo'idecha. That's the level of mo'idecha. That Avram was, and that's called the yechida. That's why it was called a kedus yechidecha. The giving up is yechida. What's another word for yechida? Oineg. Oineg and yechida are synonymous terms in this regard. In regards to talking about the level of the neshama, that the level of the soul, of the nefesh. He gave up his ultimate level of oineg, which is called your ideology. Now you go to William Wallace, remember in Braveheart, he put up his sword and he said, they may take our lives but not take our freedom. Assume he didn't have children. Go up to him and say, Bill, what would you give up your freedom for? He'd be like,
because that's his end. There is nothing else.
That's the end.
That's the end.
That's the highest level of a human being. The highest level of a human being is identifying with a good shita, a shita tova, to the point where you would give up your life for that. That is the highest level that a human being can get to. Yeah? Now most people don't do that. They choose a stupid or an evil shita, as we see, in Yana Diyoma, these people are mamash giving up their lives left, right and centre for their shita, that's called a religion. The ultimate level is identifying with an ideology which is much more real, so to speak, than possessions and stuff, Somebody who has an ideology is going to give up a lot more for it than somebody who's identified with his property, or that's also an ideology, or his whatever it is, something more physical. And that's the whole story of Tanya. That's why the Tanya begins with the word Tanya, because Tanya is Lashon Esan. Because when it says Tanya, Mashpin Oiziti Tzadik, Alti Rasha, they bring a Gemara, it says they make a promise to be a Tzadik and not a Rasha. So it says Tanya, it's a mimer from the Gemara, it's not a Brisa B'chlal. The Rebbe went out of his way to use the word Tanya to start the Tanya. It's not it wasn't Bichlal. The first thing he brings is a mimer from the Amorim. It wasn't from the Tanoim. So it isn't Tanya. The inyan of Tanya, there's a lot of other inyanim as well, but this is the biggest inyan that I understand. It's the inyan of Esan. Esan was another. Avram was also called Esan. It's the story of Avos.
Esan.
Esan was another name for Avram. Power. You see it in all of it. It's a Yidua. You can look it up.
What does it mean? That has a meaning?
Oh, Esan means power. Strength.
Power.
Yeah. So that's why it says the pasuk that Tanya is based on is Ki koyev elecha davar ma'oid. Davar ma'oid. It's the word ma'oid.
So the opposite of religion is doing what?
Only
Giving
a Jew.
Up your
Only
life
a Jew.
For your ideology?
No, only a Jew cannot be religious. Because a Jew is not of creation, and only the Jewish part of you cannot be religious. It's only allowing the Jewish part of you to overwhelm the human part of you that allows you to not be religious. A non-Jew cannot be religious. Cannot not be religious. He can't go. There's no higher.
The goal is to convert the non-Jew into the Jew inside of you.
Well, I'm going to say to draft everything into the same inyan, but that's the level of having replaced your own human oineg.
What's the highest level for somebody to give up their life
for? Who? For a Jew or non-Jew?
Yeah. For a Jew.
The highest level of the Jew is that he can give up his oineg, his human oineg. Now that doesn't mean eating a candy, it could be, but that means your shita. That the highest level of your oineg is your ideology.
Adalo yada.
Yes, this is everything. That's why the word ma'oid, by the way, goes everywhere. Very fat, very quick, very tall. The word ma'oid fits everywhere. That's a whole different inyan. We'll talk about another time. And that's the story of the Tanya, and that's where the Tanya is really trying to take us. And that's the whole inyan of Primis HaTorah, which goes beyond the Tzorech Atzman. That was Rabbi Shimon's whole thing. So the philosophy, the ideology that I got taught in Eish Torah, which was a good stepping stone to get into reality, I found out was just a stepping stone into reality, nothing more than that. Okay? It was the Madrega, the next Madrega above from where I was, but in fact, real Yiddishkeit is actually going completely beyond yourself, and that doesn't mean that you become a shmata. It's the opposite. You become the least shmata thing in the world, because now it's Hashem's oineg that's pulsing through your veins. So this is causing tsar to Hashem, chaz v'shalom. You become the opposite of a shmata, the absolute opposite of a shmata. And that's what the Tanya is trying to do for us. And how do we do that? How do we do that? What's the means that we use to do that? We'll finish on this idea very quickly. We spoke a long time, sorry. The means of how we do that, the first line of attack is our behaviour. Start behaving like a mensch. Start behaving like a Jew. Don't do a very start doing mitzvahs. That's the beginning. So if you don't understand where the Tanya is really trying to take you to, you could think that that's where the Tanya is trying to take you to, behavioural perfection. But the Tanya is giving you behavioural perfection, that is just Yedua. Look, you're not allowed to do Averas and you have to do mitzvahs. There's no wiggle room there. Finished. But you can use that as a tool to actually bring the Rebbeinu Sholem into the world mamash. Because if you do that without thinking about the ward, in whatever way, maybe we're beyond Gan Eden, but we're definitely thinking about dveikus and fuzzy feelings of oneness with reality and all kinds of things that we talk about. If you can go beyond that and start doing the mitzvah for the Rebbeinu Sholem, it will start being poil on you, and it will take some time. Yeah, it takes a lot of time, but it will start feeding back, and before you know it, just like your wife, just like all of the avoiders of being a husband dissolve to the wife, all of the mitzvahs will dissolve to tzaddik be'emunas yichya, and there'll only be the Rebbeinu Sholem in your life. And then you went into Gan Eden, that's it, finished. Okay, Shem should help. Next week we'll start with Tanya as well.
Very nice. Good.
It says, make your will his will, so that he will mevatel other people's will for your will.
He says acherim.
But if your
He says
will,
acherim.
yeah.
Yeah.
What I'm saying.
You said that other people. It says acherim, others. Acherim. Maybe it means Sitra Achra.
Fine, but my main question is